I was blindsided on a Tuesday afternoon at work when my phone buzzed with a message that changed everything. It was from Natalie, my girlfriend of 5 years. Well, ex-girlfriend now. The message was short, sharp, and carried the weight of a bomb. Connor, I need space to find myself. This isn't about you. It's about me figuring out who I really am outside of this relationship. I'll be staying with Brianna for a while. Please don't contact me. That was it. 5 years together, 3 of them sharing a home, and she ended things with a text. No phone call, no face-to-face conversation. Just a few sentences on a screen. I sat in my car for an hour just trying to absorb it. When I finally drove home, it was exactly what I expected. Her side of the closet was empty, her bathroom shelf cleared, and even the coffee machine she'd bought last Christmas was gone. On the counter, she'd left her key, like that made up for everything. I sent back a calm reply. Take all the space you need. And then I made my own move. See, Natalie thought we'd been renting this house. What she didn't know was that I'd actually bought it 4 years ago after my grandmother passed away, and left me enough for a down payment. I kept that to myself because early on, Natalie made it clear she hated the idea of being with someone who flaunted money. She always talked about valuing authenticity over material possessions, so I told her the place was a rental from a family friend. She paid me $600 each month for rent, which I quietly put toward the mortgage. I'd been considering selling for a while, and now her text felt like the perfect sign to move forward. I called my buddy Trevor, who works in real estate. He came by that evening, ran the numbers, and told me I could walk away with around $140,000 in profit even after fees and taxes. The housing market in my neighborhood was on fire, and buyers were desperate. I asked how fast we could move, and he said, if we price it right, you could have offers in days. We listed the house that Thursday. Meanwhile, Natalie was busy curating her self-discovery journey on Instagram. She filled her feed with sunset photos, captions about bravery and authenticity, and comments from friends cheering her on. So proud of you for choosing yourself, Queen. By Sunday, I already had 4 offers. I accepted one that was $15,000 over asking, closing in just a month. I found myself a 1-bedroom apartment closer to work, put down the deposit, and started packing. That's when Brianna, her best friend, the one she moved in with, texted me. Hey Connor. Nat wanted me to ask if you guys are paid up through next month on rent. She needs to know for budgeting. I replied, the house situation is handled. She doesn't need to worry about it. 20 minutes later, my phone went crazy. Natalie called. I didn't answer. Then Brianna called. Ignored. After that, texts poured in. What do you mean the house situation is handled? Connor, please answer me. I know I said I needed space, but this is about logistics. Eventually, I wrote back. You asked for space and no contact. I'm respecting that. The house situation doesn't concern you anymore. She called me 14 more times that night. I turned my phone off and went to a movie. But things didn't end there. The next day, she ambushed me at work. I walked out to the parking lot at lunch, and there she was waiting by my car. Brianna sat in her own car nearby, like a getaway driver. We need to talk, Natalie said. She looked worn down, hair messy, dark circles under her eyes, wearing the same old college sweatshirt I remembered from years ago. You asked for no contact, I told her, heading to my car. That was about emotional stuff. This is about where we live. Where we live. I stopped and looked at her. You moved out. Remember? You're staying with Brianna, living your authentic life now. That was temporary. I was always planning to come back once I figured things out. You can't just. What did you do with our house? There is no our house, Natalie. You ended things over text. You moved out. It's not yours anymore. Her face went pale. What about my things? My furniture? Mine. You already took your stuff. What furniture are you talking about? The couch I bought? The bed I paid for? The TV I paid for? You threw in $20 on an $800 couch once and called it ours. I let it slide because I thought we were building a life together. But don't kid yourself. Those things weren't yours. You can't just kick me out. I have rights, she snapped. You didn't get kicked out. You left. And you weren't on the mortgage, so you don't have any rights here. That's when Brianna got out of the car and jumped in. This is financial abuse, she said. I laughed. Financial abuse? She left. She ended things. She asked for no contact. She moved out of a house that was never hers. And now you both show up here trying to guilt me into what? Handing her back something she walked away from. Natalie's lip trembled. I thought we were in this together. Yeah, I said, unlocking my car. So did I. But you ended it with a text. Now you have all the space you asked for. Congratulations. I got in, started the engine, and drove away, leaving her standing in the lot. Would you like me to extend this into a dramatic final update, where she tries one last stunt to get the house back? Or keep it ending here with him driving away? She walked away from stability the moment she decided to pack up and leave. I didn't force her out. I wasn't her landlord, just her partner. She ended that, and with that choice came the fallout. Adults make decisions, and adults deal with consequences. After she left, I got into my car and drove off, but not without her little entourage tailing me for 3 blocks before giving up. That night, the smear campaign began. Natalie wrote this long post on social media accusing me of financial abuse, saying I weaponized housing against her. Her friends jumped in, fanning the flames, and some random person even tracked down my LinkedIn and started messaging my coworkers about how terrible I supposedly was. I didn't waste my time responding. Instead, I rang up a friend of mine who's a lawyer. When I told him everything, he laughed so hard I thought he'd choke. She's got nothing, he said. She left voluntarily. That's a month-to-month tenant who just moved out. You're fine. Then her mom called me. I'd always gotten along with Mrs. Rodriguez, so I picked up. Connor, honey, what's happening? Natalie is hysterical. She says you're selling her home. I kept my voice calm. Hi, Mrs. Rodriguez. Natalie ended things and moved out. I'm moving forward with my life. But where will she live? She asked. That's something she should have thought about before ending a 5-year relationship over text message. There was a long pause. She did what? I forwarded her the screenshot of the breakup text. After a few seconds of silence, she sighed. I'll talk to her. When the sale finally went through, everything was smooth. The check cleared. I was settled into my new apartment. It's smaller, sure, but it feels like breathing fresh air for the first time in years. No Natalie memories clinging to the walls. Before closing, though, the circus reached new heights. First, she sent her sister Veronica to guilt-trip me with a long message about how Natalie was traumatized and deserved housing stability while she healed. I ignored it. Then came a call from Brianna's boyfriend, Dominic, a wannabe tough guy who told me real men don't treat women this way. I asked him point-blank if he was threatening me. He panicked and backed down. I had the whole call recorded anyway, but the best act was Natalie trying to break back into the house. I was inside cleaning for the final handoff when I heard someone fiddling with the front door. She walked in with a locksmith at her side. What the hell are you doing? I asked. I live here, she said confidently. I lost my key and needed the locks changed. The locksmith looked at me confused. I pulled out my driver's license with my new apartment address and the closing paperwork proving the house was no longer mine. Ma'am, I can't change locks on a property you don't own, the locksmith said, clearly uneasy. I've lived here 3 years. Look it up, she snapped. That's not how ownership works, he said before making a quick exit. That's when she had a full-blown meltdown, screaming that I stole her home, ranting about all the rent she had paid, calling me every insult she could think of. I started recording her. You need to leave, I told her firmly. You're trespassing. This is my home, she wailed. No, I said. This was the house you rented a room in from your ex. You ended the relationship. You moved out. That chapter is done. She sat down on the floor like a child refusing to leave the playground. I'm not going anywhere. So I called the police. They showed up fast. Natalie tried to argue she was still a tenant, but when they asked her for proof, lease, bills, mail, she had nothing. She'd already redirected all her mail to Brianna's weeks ago. The officers escorted her out while she screamed about suing me. One of the officers even pulled me aside and said, You might want to think about a restraining order. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Brianna's mom. I know you don't know me, but Natalie can't stay with Brianna forever. She needs a place soon. Could you at least help with a deposit for her next place? The audacity floored me. I didn't reply. And then came the finale. Natalie started a GoFundMe. The title? Help Me Escape Financial Abuse. She spun this wild story about me locking her out of her home. How I gaslit her into believing the place was just a rental. And now she was left homeless by my cruelty. She actually raised $300 before someone who knew the truth flagged it. They sent screenshots of her own finding herself, posts proving she left voluntarily. The fundraiser was shut down. The last call came from her dad. Mr. Rodriguez had always been level-headed, so I answered. Connor, he said. I'm not here to yell. I just want to understand. I laid it all out. The breakup text, her Instagram posts, the dates she moved out, the sale timeline. Everything. He was quiet for a long while before saying, She told us you kicked her out for another woman. I almost laughed. What? No. That never happened. And that's where things stand. She spun herself into homelessness, dragged me through lies and drama, tried to weaponize family, friends, and strangers against me. But every time, the truth caught up with her. She ended things and packed up her stuff. I'm not even with anyone else, but somehow I became the villain in her story. Connor, I swear, we raised her better than this, or at least thought we did. Her dad told me they offered to let her move back home, but she refused because her old bedroom was toxic to her personal growth, or some ridiculous excuse. Instead, she demanded they pay for her own apartment. They said no. Meanwhile, my professional life started taking hits. My LinkedIn was flooded with fake accounts accusing me of being abusive. I had to lock it down to private just to stop the smear campaign. It escalated when two of her friends actually showed up at my new building trying to get my apartment number. Thankfully, the doorman turned them away. That's when things really took a turn. Natalie suddenly claimed we were basically common-law married. She even went to a lawyer to try and come after me for assets and spousal support. I passed all of that to a buddy of mine who practices law, and he nearly spit his coffee out laughing. Our state doesn't even acknowledge common-law marriage. And even if it did, we wouldn't qualify. We never filed taxes as a couple, never had shared bank accounts, never referred to each other as husband and wife. It was desperation, plain and simple. My lawyer fired back with a cease and desist letter and threatened to countersue if she kept harassing me. Not long after that, her lawyer actually dropped her. Then came her final card. At 2 a.m. one night, I got a text, I'm pregnant. We need to talk about our future. Thing is, I had a vasectomy 2 years ago. Never told her, because I figured I'd get it reversed when we were ready for kids. But with how things turned out, I'm glad I kept that little fact to myself. I texted back, interesting since I'm sterile. Congrats on your miracle affair. Either way, not my problem. 3 days of silence followed before she admitted she wasn't pregnant. She had just been desperate and lied. That was the breaking point even for Brianna. She kicked Natalie out. Apparently, even her best friend had a limit. So here's the final update. It's been 2 months since that first "I need space" text blew up my world. Natalie ended up moving back in with her parents. Word through mutual contacts is that she's working at her mom's dental office as a receptionist, and she hates every minute of it. Her Instagram, which used to be filled with self-discovery nonsense, has been silent for weeks. The last post was some motivational quote about life lessons, and the comments were brutal. Even her closest friends started pulling away after the fake pregnancy stunt. Brianna actually reached out to me, apologized for everything, said she felt used by Natalie and had no idea about the house ownership. I told her no hard feelings but lose my number. The icing on the cake? All that rent money Natalie was giving me, $600 a month, I had tucked away in a separate account, originally planning to use it for our wedding someday. Instead, I donated the whole thing to a local homeless shelter, posted the receipt online with the caption, "Helping people who actually need housing." Petty? Probably. Satisfying? Definitely. Now I'm in a new place, closer to work, with modern amenities and zero reminders of her. I even started seeing someone new. A woman from my gym who actually sends sweet good morning texts instead of rambling about finding herself. Natalie tried to make one last attempt recently. She sent me this long email about how much she's grown, how she hopes we can be friends, and slipped in a line about her financial struggles and karma catching up to her. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to her dad instead with a note. Might want to talk to her about accountability. He replied, we're working on it. Sorry again for everything, Connor. And no, I don't feel guilty. Not in the slightest. She wanted space? She got it. She wanted to discover herself? Well, turns out she discovered she's manipulative and entitled, and she destroyed everything she thought she could keep while juggling lies. Actions have consequences, and she's living in hers. As for me, I've closed that chapter. New apartment, new life, and it's been great. If anyone takes anything from this, it's this. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And when they ask for space, give it to them. All of it.